Hello, today I have a special guest star. Well, he's not that special, and well, still. Rob's here. He really wanted to talk about this episode. This is the episode, The Tales of Ba Sing Se.
I call it 20 Stories from Ba Sing Se, because it reminds me of that Simpsons episode.
Yeah, it very much has it was like 22 stories or 21 stories.
21, yeah, whatever it's called, yeah.
And it very much has that feel to it. It's just sort of these, I don't want to say random stories. I mean, they're all connected to the characters, but I mean, no essential plot is being moved forward. And you were telling me this is your favorite episode, so why don't you say why it's your favorite episode?
Well, put me on the spot, why don't you?
Well, you're the one with the guest star.
You're the one who's always going on your little plot synopsis.
Well, no, I mean, pretty much what it is, because there's not a whole bunch of plot in this one. It's little moments inside this city.
There were two very bitchy girls who got what they deserved.
Three, technically.
Three. There was splashing. Lots of splashing. No.
That sounds bad. It's like, there were three girls, and there was lots of splashing.
And they got wet. Oh, we totally destroyed
Avatar,
this
everybody.
Show. Yeah, okay.
A family picture.
It's a family picture. This is my hands down. Unlike him, I've seen it all the way to the end. So this was hands down my favorite episode. Mostly for Iroh's story.
I was gonna say it's the Mako.
The others are all good, but that's like the centerpiece. Like if that wasn't in it, this would not be my favorite episode. But that one piece, hands down, is the best thing the entire show will do. I'm sorry I've just destroyed the rest of the series for you because you're like, oh, that's as good as it gets.
Well,
but
no, I mean, and I really like the episode too.
The rest of the show is really, really good. So I'm not. You've got lots of awesome stuff coming, but for me, I mean, this bit was it.
Well, and it is funny because you were telling me a little bit about it. You're like, there's a scene in Iroh's part in this. Is it Iroh? Is that how you say it?
I think it's Iroh. I always go the Japanese way of saying things, except for Mako, which should be pronounced Mako.
But everyone said Mako, so we're just saying Mako, which we probably started.
I'm tempted to say Iroh, but you could go Iroh too, probably. It's a fictional world.
I always forget if it's Iroh or Iru. Anyway, the
I
uncle.
I always go Iroh, but
okay.
Iroh,
So we got
the uncle. Yeah, let's just do
it. Yeah, what I say.
Let's do it the Zuko way. Uncle.
So you got the uncle, and that is the best story. And it's funny because you were building me up a little bit to it. You're saying, man, the uncle's story in this, it's really, really good. And it's just like, I fucking dare you not to get a teardrop.
Yeah, I was like, I dare you not to get misty-eyed. I dare you.
And when it got to his story, I'm sort of watching and I'm like, maybe he wasn't talking about this episode. Maybe it was a different episode he was talking about. Well, and that's what I like is that it really throws you for a loop. And again, I think it's if this was to be in any other show, one would possibly look at the story and be like, oh man, well that was clumsy. It just shows him going through his day. All of a sudden, a tearjerker ending. What? But I think it so much establishes what kind of character he is, that he can go through his day very peaceful, very well collected, and it's kind of like any other day. If anything, it's still a special day. It's his.
Plus, it also had the mischievous character. My favorite little moment in there outside of the ending is when he's playing like some form of baseball or dodgeball or something with the kids.
The earthbending ball, that was pretty cool.
And he's just like, now we should fess up and then confess, and and then the earthbender comes out or whatever, ready to kick their ass. He's just like,
now is not that time.
Now is not that time. Run. It's brilliant.
Well, and I'm wondering if my guess is that was always the written story or what. I mean, I'm assuming Mako died obviously in the middle of doing the voice for this character.
He died. From what I've read, it was somewhere. Because I mean, that's the thing about voice acting is you can do certain episodes out of order. I mean, you're just recording lines upon lines. So somewhere in the last 7 episodes of season 2, he died as he was recording the last 7 episodes. So I mean, the big question that I've never quite figured out is, is everything in this tribute episode him?
Well,
or is there a replacement, or was somebody brought in to just spot check certain lines?
I swear that somewhere in the second season they've gotten a different voice actor, or maybe just Mako's voice has gotten more clear. I'm not sure as it got closer to the end, but there are, and if it is a replacement, it's a fine replacement because it sounds very simple. It's like I'm saying to myself, is this him? The credits always say him.
If you check the credits, season 3, they switch names. So all of season 3, I know for a fact, is someone else.
No, but a lot of
season 2, it's crediting him all the way, so I don't know at what point there was a switchover. It could very well be that, like, maybe 75% of his lines in this episode was Mako, and maybe 1 or 2 lines in this episode was someone else, and it worked that way through the last 7 episodes, depending how far they got.
So obviously they have this memoriam, which I'm almost shocked they didn't save it for the end. You know, that they had it in the middle. But then again, this sort of ties into his story, too.
What better episode could you have done that with, though?
Oh, no.
I mean, that's what makes it so
No.
great.
The end of The Tales of Ba Sing Se, why wasn't that the last story?
Gotcha.
But again, it could tie into how much, you know, with him, he's just sort of going along his everyday life, very cheerful, and then he goes to this memorial, or he sets up this memorial for his son and sings the song. I love that song they sings that child comes in again, singing it to his son. I thought that was very effective. So at first I was kind of like, why didn't I save that for the end? And then when I really thought about the story and it was all said and done, I'm like, no, that works. You know, because for the end would kind of be the cliche, or having a whole episode where he's just thinking of the son passing and nothing else would be cliched. I think what they did really tied in with the character who's sort of an all-encompassing character.
I think you're hitting on part of it. I mean, there's 2 separate things. One, if you saved it for the end, what a downer. I mean...
Well, no, we just had the little lemur going...
No, but I mean, there's still something cute about Momo. That's a little more...
Crying over his lost friend. It's adorable. Lemur tears are the cutest.
I subsist only on lemur tears. No, I think comparing those two, I still think Momo's is the fluffier story. So I think it was a way to just be like, okay, we're not going to end on this absolute, oh my god, moment. But I think part of it's that. I think by putting it in the middle, you know, you do have a little bit of a buffer zone, because if you had ended there and just for Mako and everything, you just would have been like, wow, like I need a stiff drink after that. I think the other thing is you just hit upon it, which is you don't realize this yet, and it's not a spoiler, because I think you're starting to figure it out by this point anyway, that he is basically the Sam in the Lord of the Rings story. In so many ways, this entire story circles around Uncle Iroh. Like, without Uncle Iroh, nothing would happen in this story. I mean, even, you know, already, if you think about it, what would have happened if Uncle Iroh wasn't there? The Avatar probably would have been captured, and, you know...
Yeah, and Zuko...
That influence that he has on Zuko wouldn't have been there, so it's...
Or on Toph and stuff
like that. As strange as it is, more than Katara, more than Aang, more than even Zuko... Iroh is the center of this entire story. Everything revolves around him, and it'll keep doing that as it keeps going, so...
He is, when you take out whatever the 100 years element, I mean, obviously you have Aang in there, but Aang disappears for a while. Yeah, he's sort of the next to sort of come up and sort of start really setting things in motion, and yeah, that is true, everything sort of happens around him.
So to put him in the center like that, he may not be dead center, but to not put him at the end, but still keep him somehow in the middle... I think works just fine for his character, because he's still a character that everybody's sort of floating around. You know, he is the one thing that seems to be connecting everybody together.
Now, what did you think of the rest of the stories in this?
I really liked them. I thought some were weaker than others. It's funny. I liked seeing Katara and Toph sort of bonding, and I thought that story worked. For me, that may have been the weakest of the set, though. Yeah, when it's all said and done, I'm like, yeah, that was fun, and, you know, they got to give the other, you know, bullies their comeuppance, but... Which I enjoyed. I think you kind of need that as much as, you know, Aang and everybody's all about, no, peace and love, and we got to find that, you know...
Well, all of them,
yeah,
I mean...
They're still, yeah, I mean, that's the thing, they're still kids, and I think that would be a kid reaction, which is, they don't kill them, they don't really injure them, but we're totally just going to drop them in the water.
Yeah, no, they just ruin their clothes and stuff, I mean...
But, you know, and honestly, I think there was a great anti-bullying message in there, which is, you know, they're picking on a blind girl! Who does that? What the hell is wrong with you?
For me, watching it, I actually surprisingly really liked the Toph and Katara story. I was actually really shocked.
I did too. I'm just saying, for me, out of that set, I thought maybe it was the weakest.
The ones that didn't grab... There's only two that didn't grab me. And they're fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. They just didn't grab me as much. One was Aang creating the zoo. Which was clever, but just sort of. I mean,
I liked it as another example of
something
him
about the
being
Toph story.
Yeah, finding a way around.
Something about the Toph story and Katara, and you already sort of know the rough past they had, and it's such a good, genuine connection that you feel like something happened there, something has moved forward, and the same thing. And the same thing with Zuko and the. I
loved his story.
Again, you feel like something has move forward, that he can lower his defenses, even if it's just a little bit. And it is a little bit. He has those mixed feelings at the end.
It shows, too, how Iroh is trying to push him into being normal. He's trying to get him to
be a teenage boy,
yeah, to accept the fact that, you are no longer a prince. Make your own destiny. We're in a tea house in the Airbender kingdom. Deal with it. That's basically his whole shtick, and so he's trying to push him into it. But I liked his story because you could see Zuko trying, and he sort of comes so close, maybe I can just have a normal life. Dear God, maybe all I want is a normal life.
It's just to pass on.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the whole theme, I think, of this season, is Zuko trying to come to terms with, maybe I can give up trying to please my father, trying to, be the royal
prince.
His shame. Yeah, and, to see him conflicted that way and come so close, and yet he still feels like, no, he's like, God, I can't do it.
And I like that, the uncle asks, how did it go? How was how'd your date go? And he slams the door, and then he opens it up again and says, it was actually kind of nice, and closes it. So it's that nice mix. It's that nice mix.
It was nice, but I don't want to admit it.
I forgot about the Sokka one, actually. That one was so short.
I like the Sokka one, too.
I liked it. Again, I mean, I don't feel anything was moved forward, but I liked it. The one part where I was like, okay, shut up, is when I'm watching this and I'm saying, okay, this is obviously like a rap battle back then, except with poetry. And, well, you can make an argument rap is poetry, but...
It was, I will say
but
this,
at the very end, it's like they start doing the rap music, and I'm like, oh, shut up! And they don't do it for long, and I'm just like, oh, come on. But I like as soon as he came in, he accidentally makes...
so 2005 or something.
I like as soon as he comes in, he accidentally makes a poem, and then the teacher sort of shows he's not really anything, it was by accident, and then he keeps going, and he's good with it, and it was a very smart scene, but I like how they immediately drop him as soon as he makes a mistake, and apparently there's like a bodyguard in this poetry school that can toss him out.
I just like any episode with Sokka because... Everyone else, and I forget if this has been addressed yet where you are, but if not, I don't think it's a spoiler, but at some point in the series, there's a moment where he's like, everybody's so cool but me! I can't waterbend, I can't earthbend, I can't do anything, I have a boomerang, that's it, and... So I love any chance the writers throw at us to be like, let's give Sokka a moment. It may not be proud, it may not be the greatest.
Well, he's been having a lot of moments recently.
Yeah.
He's sort of become like the crazy idea guy, which and even this is totally welcoming.
Well, and this was an example, I think, of, and this is where I think the writing is really clever, because even in what seems like a filler episode, it gives us character, because it tells us this is what he's best at. He's thinking out of the box. He's thinking on his feet. It's just a poetry slam, but I mean, it's something that he's surprisingly good at because he has to just...
He's usually...
think on his feet,
He's usually good at the stuff he has no idea he's actually good at.
Yeah.
And never thought of trying.
He's great at making shit up as he goes, and that's why I thought the poetry slam was such a great story for him. It's like, yes, this is his skill set. I make shit up as I go.
And then the Momo story, I'm not sure what... It looks like he's looking for Appa, and he comes across these other little panther, whatever they are, and he helps them out, and they take the fur and lead him to, I think it's a footprint, I think is what it is. Somehow there's only one footprint, like maybe he fell or something, and I guess he's supposed to sort of be missing him. I'm not sure how there's only one footprint there, or it's hard to gather the size if you, fell over or what, but... I'm like, did I read that right? That it's an area where Appa used to be, and Momo feels bad and sits there. Is that what's going on there?
Yes.
Okay, I want to be sure.
How you couldn't pick up on that, I don't know.
Well, because there's only one footprint. I'm like, shouldn't it be like 3 or 4 or something?
It was a muddy patch. There were bricks everywhere else.
But just in that one little area, there's a big pile of mud. I don't know. It seemed like there should be more footprints.
All will be explained after Appa's Lost Days.
That always seems to be the thing. It's always like, oh, it's just, wait. And so I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to be like, but it's like
almost
the show makes it really tough to give criticism because it's like, oh, it'll come in later. Oh, it'll come in later.
I'm actually hard pressed to think
goddamn
of
genius show.
Yeah, I'm really hard pressed to think of things that don't come back. There may be 1 or 2 things I'm like, yeah, I guess that really didn't come back, but pretty much like almost everything you've brought up, I'm like, yeah, that comes back, that comes back, that comes back. And I know you're not, I don't think, you're not reading the comments, are you? Because there's spoilers all over.
No, every once in a while.
I'm telling you guys right now, if you're posting comments, like, oh no, Doug, just you wait, this is, he's not reading them because you guys are spoiling it.
The only thing I ever see is actually just that, just wait. So it's like, I've sort of learned, okay, that's like the thing.
I have passed on the message as well, just wait. So you guys can keep typing that all you want, but, you know, he gets it.
I'll wait.
Yeah, but no, all of that'll be explained, and that's a dark episode too.
Well,
I love this show. Yeah, Appa's Lost Days.
I keep saying it's supposed to look like Appa's Last Days. Like, we're supposed to go, oh no! But,
I'm sorry, not Last Days, Lost Days.
Oh, no, you said Lost. I'm saying it's just supposed to look like an A.
Actually, now I'm just realizing why. Actually, that makes sense now when I'm thinking about the way they set up these stories. Of course Momo's would be last, because that leads directly into the next one.
Oh, there you go.
If you really throw all these stories together, that leads directly into the next one. I think being a little more lighthearted with Momo is good, because Appa's Lost Days, oh my god.
Oh my god.
Shit gets real. Particularly if you're a bison.
So, I would say that, you know, and a lot of these episodes, you know, I sort of talk about filler episodes, but I don't talk them in bad ways. I say filler can be good if it really is furthering character, not necessarily has to further.
I'll say this: if we're
plot.
declaring this a filler episode, it may be the greatest filler episode of anything I've ever seen in my entire life.
I'm saying that this really does. I'm saying that they're not only not bad, but a lot of times they're essential. And I don't know if I necessarily call this. I might call it a little bit of a filler, but. Again, we just need those moments for characters to relax. I mean, this is why something like this Star Trek works so much better as, like, a show that does a movie, which, I mean, there's a lot of good movies, but, like, you compare Next Generation, the show, to the movies, it's like, Next Generation, you can just have an episode about Troy or Worf or something like that. You can have the characters just breathe, and you really need that in order to want to follow them. I think this was a good example of just letting the characters breathe and find out stuff about them you wouldn't have known before. Like I said, the thing with Toph,
I will argue,
I never would have really thought about.
I will argue this. Toph, Sokka,
Katara.
Yeah, Katara. Even Zuko's, I think, is a little more necessary. You could argue, I think, in this episode that could quite possibly be filler. Really good filler, but you could argue, you could have found a way to maybe incorporate that into a main plot line elsewhere. Momo's story, you couldn't. That actually is advancing the plot, and you'll find out why in the next episode, but Iroh's story, no. I don't think there's anything filler about that at all. I think once you see the whole thing put together, the entire series, and you look back at this episode, you will realize that if you were to ask somebody, if somebody was to ask you, what is Avatar about? If somebody were to ask me that, having seen the series, I would say watch the whole thing, but when you want to get down to what Avatar is about, watch that episode, particularly Iroh's story. Like, his character and what he does basically is what the entire show is about. I mean, when you get down to it, it is a non-violent anti-war message the whole way through.
Oh, spoilers! No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, because that gives something away. Yeah, I mean, he encompasses the soul of the story, and basically, I don't even know how to define this. It's just, he is the story. Like, the funny thing is, for a show that has so many kids in it, and revolves around kids, he basically is the center on which the story spins around, and he is the only adult, because if you look at the show for the most part, most of the adults tend to make mistakes, or most of the adults tend to be douchebags. You'll even find this out, about people Aang idolizes. You'll look at it and be like, huh, like kind of expected more out of the adults in the room. He is the only adult who is at a stage, I think, in the game of this show who basically is on the same level as the rest of the kids.
Well, and he has sort of the childlike innocence,
yeah,
too.
Yeah, he has the childlike innocence, and he is the only adult that, sets himself apart from the rest of the adults. And that's why I think this is such a powerful episode for him, because up until this point, I was pretty much like, this is a good show. I mean, this is a really, really, really good show. This episode, and that bit in this episode in particular, was the point where I went, okay, this is not a really, really good show. This is one of the greatest shows I've ever seen. And that did not happen until this episode. And as great as the rest of the series is, I'm not sure it had a point that it was ever quite as good as that one moment again. It's like, this is the heart and soul of the whole series right in this episode, which is why I think it's the best.
Well, so it is. So, there it is, another really good episode, even a great episode right there. And if there's any more episodes that Rob wants to come in and get you all to cry at, he will return.
I don't know, what are you reviewing next?
What was it? The Lost Appa, what's it called?
Appa's Lost Days.
Appa's Lost Days, yes. That'll be the next one.
You never studied.